here's your host, Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage.
Oh, yeah!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports and Metal Podcast. As always, we are your hosts. This is Aaron Savage. With me, as always, my partner in crime right over there, Mr. Jason Voorhees. What's going on, Jay?
What is up, brother?
Not much, man. Before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to our number one sponsor, La Terrain Watches. You go to their website, laterrain.com. That's LA-TOURAINE.com. Use our promo code SNM. That's the letters SNM as in sports and metal. And you're going to save 10% off your purchase. You don't want to miss it. The best handcrafted watches at the best price point on the market. So let's get started. It's kind of a somber show. Shocking news in the rock and roll world. Just last night, Foo Fighters were scheduled to headline a festival in Colombia last night. And an hour before they were to hit the stage, it was actually announced at the festival that Taylor Hawkins, the drummer of the Foo Fighters, had passed away in his hotel room in Colombia. Shocking news, shocking, sad news. Taylor was only 50 years old. It's way too young to go. It's the latest in a long list of rock and roll royalty that we've lost in the past couple of years. Taylor was not just one of the greatest drummers of all time. Think about this, dude. He was friends with everybody. My news feed was filled with every single person you could think of in rock and metal paying tribute to Taylor Hawkins. And even more telling than the tributes themselves were the photos and the images that were posted with the tributes. I mean, Taylor Hawkins shared a stage with everyone you can think of. This guy played with everybody. He was friends with everybody. And again, one of the greatest drummers we've seen. Think how unique it is when you're in a band with arguably the greatest drummer that's ever lived, and you're the drummer of that band. Think about it. Dave Grohl, a great drummer, decided to make Taylor Hawkins the drummer of his band. That speaks volumes, the tribute to Taylor Hawkins. And it wasn't just the rock and metal community paying tribute. I saw movie stars like Jeremy Piven. I saw not just modern rock stars either. I saw tributes from Ringo Starr, Mick Jagger, Miley Cyrus, pop stars, everybody. So Taylor Hawkins, likable guy. Everybody loved him. Nobody had a bad thing to say about him. Super talented, not just as a drummer. I mean, he had a great personality. He could sing. He was a huge Queen fan. He loved Van Halen. He's so known for his time in the Foo Fighters, but he also played drums for Alanis Morissette. He had some side projects. He had a recent one with Dave Navarro of Jane's Addiction. He had another side project, Chevy Metal, which was an all-cover band. You can go on YouTube. You could check out a performance they had in 2019 at Beach Fest, where they did a full Van Halen set. You know, Hot for Teacher, Romeo Delight, Mean Street, Panama, Drop Dead Legs. I'm the One. Taylor was fronting it, playing some drums as well. Played with Nikki Sixx at one of their gigs. Awesome version of Livewire you could catch on YouTube. And we were talking about it before we went live, Jay. And I just mentioned it again, how big of a Queen fan he was. And the last show he ever played, it's a great video you could check out on YouTube where he did a cover. Well, the Foo Fighters did a cover of Queen's Somebody to Love, and Taylor came out and fronted the band and sang the song and said, I'm so lucky that I get to come out and sing this song and have the greatest drummer in rock and roll play drums for me, meaning Dave Grohl. It was just awesome. Foo Fighters is a great live band, and we'll bring that up in a little bit and talk about it. But what do you have to add, Jay?
I mean, I don't know if I can really do much more than what you did. I mean, the guy is just – I think the word likable and virtually loved around the community. I mean, as you said, like I've seen, obviously we lose musicians, unfortunately too often now. It's almost like daily anymore. And, you see a lot of tributes, but I do believe that bands like the Foo Fighters kind of transcend different genres. Like they are, I mean, in my opinion, Foo Fighters are like a hard rock band. Obviously, we'll talk about it. Their latest album is like a thrash metal album. Like, it's crazy. But in the scheme of things, they're not, to me, really realistically considered a metal band. But that doesn't mean that they're not in the same community because, like, obviously, Dave Grohl coming for like Nirvana, and now Nirvana isn't quote unquote considered a metal band either. But point I'm making is they're Foo Fighters to me is like a Pearl Jam type level as far as when, they're just very huge. They're not like, your typical band that's like really good, but has, a certain distinct following. There's a lot of people that follow the Foo Fighters, including people that don't even realistically like the music. Like, as far as like, there's rap fans that like Foo Fighters. Like, that's just how they are. They transcend different, musics, different styles of music. And I just think, when you hear the band Foo Fighters, it's like, my God, like, and when I saw the news, when I texted you, I couldn't believe it. Like, I'm like, is this fake? Like, every time I see these things anymore, you don't want to believe it. Like, and I got like a pit in my stomach just talking about it because like you said, like, I mean, just watching the guy perform, I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm getting upset, like, talking about it, honestly. Like, it's just very, very somber. Like you said, I don't know, what else to say.
I mean, we're kind of getting on a tangent here, talking more about Foo Fighters and Taylor, but it is amazing when you think about Dave Grohl coming from Nirvana and everything that Nirvana was, and here we are all these years later, and Foo Fighters has become arguably the biggest band in the world on their own, and bigger than Nirvana ever was for all of Nirvana's influence. I mean, Taylor Hawkins' Foo Fighters were just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year. I'm just glad Taylor was able to experience that. He we had him for that. Like I said, he's gone way too soon. But like you said, Foo Fighters transcends everything. And when Dave recruited Taylor to be in the band, he's, with the first beer they had together, I think Dave said to Taylor, he goes, "We're going to be best friends." So, and they're both they're both fans of all types of music. Like I said, Taylor has a side project, Chevy Metal, where it's like pretty much all rock, hard rock, and heavy metal covers. Dave Grohl comes from a thrash, black metal, sludge metal background growing up. Jay mentioned the new album that they have for their movie, Studio 666, which is a fictional movie about the Foo Fighters being in the studio to record their most recent album. And they're in Studio 666, and it's haunted by this band called Dream Widow. I don't want to spoil the movie, but it's something along the lines of the lead singer of Dream Widow killed all his bandmates because of creative differences. And now they haunt the studio. And Foo Fighters actually recorded this Dream Widow, an album as Dream Widow for the movie, the fictional band Dream Widow. And it's a total thrash black metal album. It really calls back to bands like Trouble, Old Corrosion of Conformity, and Slayer and Venom. So that's the influence that these guys bring to the table. And like I said, they're friends with everybody. Jay, why don't you bring up the video on YouTube? It's from the most recent and Taylor Hawkins' final performance with the Foo Fighters just the other night. And it's amazing to watch. Dave Grohl he introduces the band, and he finally gets to Taylor, and he introduces Taylor, and Taylor comes out and fronts the band, and they sing Somebody to Love. Why don't you bring it up, Jay? Show what we're talking about.
All right.
It just shows the personality that Taylor Hawkins brought to the band. I think it'll be lost forever. Live.
Can you help me find somebody? Can you help me find somebody to? Each morning I get up, I tell you, can't really stand on here. Take your what you do. I feel these years and believe in you, but I just can't get no relief. Oh, somebody, can anybody find me? Somebody to love. I would like my clothes. Everybody wants to put me down and say, crazy. This animal I got no common sense. Who's got nobody left to believe? Yeah, 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 yeah. Somebody, everybody,
Anyway, take it down, Jay. Just give there was a little taste. It was actually the wrong video. That was last year. That was actually last year, but you get the gist what Taylor Hawkins brings to the stage. I thought it was so special the other night at Lollapalooza when, like I said, Dave introduced him and he came out and fronted, and he was like, "You want to hear?" And Dave goes, "No." Taylor, I think, said, "You want to hear a Queen song?" And Dave started playing the drums, and then the piano kicked in. Taylor had said, "I'm so lucky I get to come out when I front this band, and I have the greatest drummer in the world playing for me." And again, it's just the whole aspect of you go to a Foo Fighters show, you get over 2 hours of great performance, and you also get some unique stuff like that. They always have special guests, and just the fun aspect that Taylor brought to the band. It's gonna be missed forever. I don't know if they can ever replace it. But yeah, so rest in peace, Taylor Hawkins. Anyway, why don't we stick with the rock and roll vibe a little bit here? Big news that was just the other day, and I was kind of shocked by it. Skid Row has welcomed Eric Gronwall as the new lead vocalist of the band. Eric Gronwall, you might know, he was the frontman of Heat for a number of years, a Swedish band. He actually made his break back, I think, in 2012, where he sang 18 in Life on Swedish Idol, and I think he won the show. I don't know. I don't watch Swedish Idol. I live in the United States. But, dude, this guy has pipes. And I'm shocked because I've known they've been talking on Instagram about recording this new record that's going to drop in October, at least for the last year. And JP Tharp was in the band from Dragon Force. And after all this time here and there recording the record, I figured it was about done. So I'm expecting this record to come out with JP Tharp. And all of a sudden, here we go. It comes out of nowhere. Eric Gronwall's the singer, and they've already released a single, The Gang's All Here, which is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's like an elite, great Skid Row song, but what I love about it is it harkens back to Skid Row on the first record. It has that sound to it. And they even reference Tricky Little Vicky from Rattlesnake Shake. So it's just, it sounds like it's throwing back to that old era of Skid Row. So I think he's got the pipes. And Jay, I mean, what do you think, man?
Well, the funny thing is I'm not shocked at the fact that he has pipes, because I actually, back in 2020, I listened to the Heat record. I believe it was titled Heat 2, and that was the last record he performed on. And I was blown away by it, so much so that I actually included it in my top albums of 2020. Like, it was a phenomenal record. And I love that Swedish, power metal type style anyway. I'm like, obviously not that Iron Maiden or Judas Priest is Swedish, but they're power metal. And I'm into that power metal. And all those bands have great singers. And this guy's no different. I mean, like you said, like, I'm not saying he's Sebastian Bach, but I've heard his voice range, and it's pretty sick.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Like, these over in Sweden and places like that, Sweden in particular comes to mind. There's still such a scene for like the power metal, glam metal, that throwback sound we don't get here in the United States. There's so many bands. I've brought it up on this show in the past, so I agree with you. It's all, and I'll admit I don't keep track of them as much as I should because these bands kick some serious ass. Dude, why don't you bring up that video? That's it's not the video from when he did the performance on Swedish Idol, but it's a video he recorded back in 2018 singing 18 in Life. So the people out there, if they haven't heard it already, you can hear what you're in for hearing this guy sing Skid Row songs. And dude, I think it's the closest to Sebastian Bach we've heard since Sebastian was in the band. See if you can pull that video up, Jay. Let's take a sample of this here. Let's check this out.
Ricky was a young boy. He had a heart of stone. Lived 9 to 5 and he worked his fingers to the bone. Just barely out of school. Came from the edge of town. Fun like a switchblade, so no one could take him down. No, he had no money. No good at home. He walked the streets a soldier and he fought the world alone. And now it's 18 in life, you got it. 18 in life, you know your crime is time. And it's 18 in life to go. 18 in life, you got it. 18 in life, you know your crime is time. And it's 18 in life to go. Tequila in his circle, his face burned gasoline. It kept his motor running, but he never kept it clean. They said he lived adventure, Ricky's the wild one. He married trouble, had a clutch shop with a gun. A bang bang, shoot him up, the party never ends. You can't think of dying when the bottle's your best friend. And now it's 18 in life, you got
Yeah, so I mean, he's got the inflections of Sebastian.
your crime is time.
It's like it's Sebastian Bach. Like,
Yep.
pretty much.
He's got the rasp. It's been missing. It's been missing. As much as I'm looking forward to the new record, I'm even more looking forward now to seeing Skid Row live and hearing these songs perform the way they should be performed. You know what I'm saying, Jay?
I agree, man.
Dude, I can't wait to hear songs like In a Darkened Room, Wasted Time, Monkey Business. This guy's going to fucking rip these songs up, man. And if you don't believe me, check out the other videos he's done on YouTube. You could check out Rainbow in the Dark he's done. He's done Iron Maiden, Hallowed Be Thy Name. Dude, one of my most impressive performances that I've seen by him was he did Van Halen Dreams. Sammy Hagar can't even hit those notes. He couldn't hit those notes live then. It's impossible to hit the way they were on the studio. And he's hitting them. Dude, this guy's going to fucking bring it. And Skid Row, man, I don't know what they were looking for. You know, when they, I shouldn't say I don't know what they were looking for. I don't know why they weren't looking for somebody that sounded this way. I mean, all due respect to the late Johnny Salinger, great guy. Some of the material he put out, I liked, but it was almost like they were intentionally moving away from the Sebastian Bach sound to sound more like bands that came out like not Candlebox. What's the band that I can't stand? Nickelback. I love Candlebox. Sorry, guys. Nickelback, like that sound. You know what I mean? Theory of a Dead Man. Like, I don't know, just that sound of like the late 90s, early 2000s. Skid Row was trying too hard to sound that way. Matchbox 20, bands like that. And it's like, this is a return to form, Jay. I'm pumped. Do I think they're going to come out with a classic album at this point in their careers? Probably not, based on the first single. But it's just refreshing to hear that they're trying to sound like Skid Row sounds. And maybe we'll be shocked, and there is some classic stuff on the record.
Bro, I couldn't agree more. I mean, unbelievable. Like, and like I said, I'm not shocked because I heard this guy sing with heat and it's definitely, it's hard sometimes because when you hear like a guy's style, you don't necessarily say, "Oh wow, he would fit Sebastian." But as soon as you hear him singing that song, like, because this is the first time I heard that recording. I mean, obviously, I'm going to go back and check out more videos from.
Oh,
this
I didn't
guy.
know you hadn't heard that.
But no, I mean, honestly, that was the first time I've heard it, and like it. Honestly, you're right. Like, it gives me an excitement that I'm actually going to enjoy a Skid Row concert. Not that I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I went maybe like 6 years ago. I think you and I went to some like we went to
Oh,
Rock
the
Festival.
food truck, the Rock. Yeah, but you know what though? In fairness, they had Tony Harnell for that little cup of coffee. He was in the band. Like you blinked, you missed it. I mean, but he had the voice, I guess, but he didn't have the rasp. He just had the range, and I don't know. He just didn't fit. But yeah, we got lucky to see Tony Harnell, in my opinion, over Johnny Solinger. But yeah, this is going to be a whole nother level, bro.
I mean, honestly, I can't wait. I'm actually excited now. Like, for obviously not just to see them live, but like the new album. Like, because you're wondering if it's going to be like. I mean, obviously, like for me, I even enjoyed. I'm drawing a blank on the record. I actually had it as my pick of the week. Subhuman Race. But obviously, that was kind of moving towards a little bit different, like, style from their, obviously Slave to the Grind is my favorite Skid Row album. I know
me
Skid
too.
Row,
That's a
Skid Row
masterpiece.
gets all the, the pub, and rightfully so, it was their debut. But to me, Slave to the Grind is just like, the masterpiece.
Absolutely.
The absolute peak of Skid Row. And I'm not saying like, this guy could bring that, but I did hear some heat. Like, there's some heat stuff that's pretty heavy. So
yeah,
I'm wondering if like you might get a couple, Slave to the Grind type songs. That
we can only hope, dude.
That would be
only
awesome.
hope. Anyway, let's move on to a story that was going to be our top story until the last couple of days with all the shit that went down. Tyreek Hill, Jay, this week, and this is a big story for me as a Miami Dolphins fan, dude. I don't remember. Was it Wednesday? I lost track. But, Wednesday morning, there was when you woke up that morning, no one in the world had any inclination that there was any talk of Tyreek Hill being moved out of Kansas City. Like 8 o'clock Pacific time. So I guess it was like 11 o'clock Eastern time. Word started trickling out that the Chiefs had been working on an extension with Tyreek Hill, and the talks came to a stall, and that they had given Drew Rosenhaus, Tyreek Hill's agent, permission to seek a trade. Within 30 minutes of that, you heard that the Jets and the Miami Dolphins both had trades that were accepted in place. And it was just down to where Tyreek Hill was going to choose to go. At that point, not just because I'm a Dolphin fan, I think we all knew he was going to Miami, because I don't think he was going to want to go to the Jets, not just because they're the Jets, all due respect, but because he didn't want to go to the weather there. He wanted to go to Miami, and also Miami has no state income tax. So I think it was a no-brainer that once it came down to those two teams, we all knew he was choosing Miami. Dude, as a Dolphin fan, I'm floating on cloud 9, bro. And, dude, I know they gave up. Here's the trade. They gave up a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a fourth-round pick this year. And then in next year's draft, just a fourth and a sixth-round pick. And then they signed him to a record-breaking 36, 90, what was it? 120 over 4 years, so $30 million a year, which exceeds the record-breaking contract that just like a week earlier Devontae Adams had signed after being traded to the Raiders. Bottom line is, as far as I'm concerned, this is a steal for the Dolphins, dude. They still have their first and second round picks next year. So I don't think giving up the first and second round pick this year, which is in essence what they gave up, because then when you're talking fourth and sixth round picks, I mean, it's not like, ooh, the first and the second rounders is what they're trading for. So we give up a first and second rounder this year, basically, for Tyreek Hill. Who wouldn't do that? This is a game-changing player. This is one of the elite players in the NFL today, arguably the best receiver in the game. You're talking him and Devontae Adams usually 1 and 1A, or the other way around, dude. These Cooper Kupp, obviously, let's not forget in the last couple of years, but going last 5 years, dude, these are the top guys. And even if you're going to put Cooper Kupp into the equation now, you're talking the top 3 guys. This is crazy to be able to land this type of a player for that. And then you want to talk about the money? Dude, we've talked about this. The salary cap in the NFL. the salary cap is practically non-existent in the NFL because it's so easily manipulated. And I'll give you a case in point. The way Tyreek Hill's contract is structured, he only counts as a $6 million cap hit this year. He doesn't have a big cap hit until the final year of the contract, at which time it's a $50 million hit, which is obviously insurmountable. There's no way that they would play with that. So we all know that if things go horribly wrong, which I doubt, that he wouldn't even be there by the time that would be a hit on the Dolphins, on their cap. But more than likely, assuming he would be there, because it's not that far off, 5 years, he's not going to be really old. More than likely, they'd restructure the deal. It's not going to be a $50 million hit. And case in point, they're already talking about restructuring Xavier Howard's deal now because of this. And they already changed Byron Jones's cap hit into a signing bonus. So a $13.5 million of his salary, they converted to a signing bonus and saved like a $10.5 million cap hit. That's how easily manipulated the salary cap is in the NFL. So as a Dolphin fan, dude, I'm ecstatic, and I think any team would have done this. And, dude, you're going to pair Tyreek Hill with Jalen Waddle. You saw what people are calling it, Jay, the Legion of Zoom. I'm pumped, dude. What are your thoughts, bro?
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm jealous. I'm pissed off. I'm not pissed at you. I'm pissed that the Eagles didn't get him because obviously, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, like, it's not like they gave up like 3 first-round picks, like you said, and they only gave up 1 first-rounder this year. And like you said, the fact of the matter is that they had so much capital that it's almost like they're not even going to miss it. Because you're basically getting, like you said, arguably the best wide receiver in the game, if not, 1A, 1B, whatever. But not only that, you add him to an arsenal that already includes the up-and-coming Jalen Waddle, who already had an awesome season in his rookie year. It's only going to make Jalen Waddle better playing under a guy like Tyreek Hill because he's going to rub off on him. You know that. He's going to show him more stuff. He's going to show him the tricks, the lay of the land. He's been doing it a lot longer. So that's only going to help. And then combining that with the young Tua, who we all agree is still, I mean, I don't get why a lot of people are down on Tua because it kind of, in my opinion, it's a similar situation to my Eagles with Jalen Hurts. Like, they're both quarterbacks that, to me, I don't think you necessarily could say, oh, they aren't going to get better. They're both still young. They both, came from a college offense that was a little bit different than what they're running in the NFL. And like I said, to me, a lot of times when you have a quarterback that, maybe is on the cusp or, isn't quite there yet, a lot of times adding weapons can just make all the world of difference. And I definitely believe that's the case with Tua. I mean, I see a big season this year. That's just my opinion. Obviously you didn't even, you did say Gesicki, but Gesicki.
No, I didn't even get to that. I mean, I'm going to piggyback off you here. This is a make or break season for Tua. Dude, they re-signed Gesicki. They franchised him, so they have him for another year. They also brought in Chase Edmonds, Rasheem Mostert. They just boosted the offensive line. Why am I drawing a blank?
He was like the best offensive lineman in free agency.
Oh, Terron Armstead. They just brought him in. Dude, I mean, they've surrounded him with talent on the offense now. They have a loaded offense on paper. And obviously, they're putting all their cards in with Tua. And the bottom line is this. I know Tua has taken a lot of beatings in the press, but I'll be the first to admit, I've had times where I've been pissed about Tua, but I can honestly tell you, I saw a huge improvement from year 1 to year 2. I was very, very concerned after the first year we talked about it. I saw a lot of improvement last year. They had that 9-game winning streak. He played very well, very well. Made some mistakes still, but I saw a huge improvement. And if you look at Tua's numbers his first 2 years, they're comparable to guys like Drew Brees and other guys who became superstars. I'm being honest with you, dude. They really are. I think the big thing with Tua, he's been a lightning rod since he was in college. I think because of his name, he had a huge name. But dude, think about it. Before he had the hip injury, all the talk in the NFL was tank for Tua. It threw back to suck for luck. Remember suck for luck? And it was tank for Tua. And the Dolphins, they thought were going to tank for Tua, but they didn't. First year under Brian Flores, they actually started winning a lot of football games. So they ended up not having the number 1 pick, but they were still able to get Tua because after that hip injury, some teams doubted him. Dolphins picked him up, and it was a controversial pick because he was coming off that injury. And then other concerns with his size and stuff that would have been there anyway. But it just became a bigger thing. And I think because of all that, he's been under a microscope from day one. People like rooting for him to fail. I think we have to admit that, Jay. We have to. He has been more scrutinized than any other rookie quarterback I've probably ever seen in my life. Ever. Honestly. And it's like, he's really played pretty well, and you would never believe it based on the narrative. He's got a winning record. The Dolphins are a far better team when he's played than when he hasn't. Their record shows that. So I think this is a big year for him. They've built the team around him. I'm expecting him to have a big year. And if he doesn't, then I'll be the first to tell you Dolphins really need to consider moving on. Because it would be a regression at this point if he didn't have a big year. Because I already said he had a big improvement from year 1 to year 2. Now they've put all the cards on the table, surrounded him with the talent to have that season. The other big concern that we have is injuries, and that's the other reason that he's been under that injury microscope coming out of college. He's almost gotten kind of like a Carson Wentz, Mr. Glass reputation. I think it's too early to pin that on him, but it's still something that he could end up with. And I don't rule it out. It's possible. This is the year to find out. And that's why they did hedge their bet by signing Teddy Bridgewater. Because if something did happen to Tua, they have him as a stopgap. And they still have their first and second round picks next year if they needed to look for a quarterback. And this wasn't a big quarterback draft class this year either. So Dolphins are in good shape to me, no matter how you cut it, no matter how you slice and dice it. And I do think Tua is going to come through, my opinion.
Can't argue with you. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of jealous. The offense, like I said, on paper is obviously very impressive. Tyreek Hill, I mean, the guy, the Legion.
Well, let's talk a little more about this acquisition. You brought up Jalen Hurts. Dude, they have Jalen Waddle. They have Tyreek Hill, right? Oh, we also forgot they signed Cedric Wilson. They have Cedric Wilson. They still have Preston Williams. Bottom line is they're loaded at the receiver position. Obviously, there could still be room for a Devontae Parker, the guy I haven't mentioned. There still could be room here. But he's no longer going to be a number 1 or 2 receiver. He already lost his number 1 receiver position last year with the influx of Jalen Waddle. So he was already number 2. That's done. Now he's 3 at best. Probably 4 because they brought in Cedric. This was a number 1 draft pick, dude, like the 22nd overall number of years back. He's never lived up to his hype, and he's a guy that's been hurt a lot in Miami. He had one great year when he had like 72 catches over 1,000 yards a couple years back. Outside of that, he's always performed very well when he's been on the field. You get him on the field, he puts up numbers, and he can be a deep threat, and he's a big guy. He's that guy that gets those contested catches in the corner of the end zone, but he's always hurt. So to me, I see a trade partner for the Dolphins in your Eagles. Because like I said, as much as he brings value when he plays, the Dolphins are so used to him being hurt. To me, trading him, there'd be no loss because we're not used to having him on the field anyway. Maybe the change of scenery is what he needs. And like I said, when he's been on the field, he's performed. And I think the Eagles need a complimentary receiver to Devontae Smith, and they need a big guy that can get those contested catches in the end zone. I think it's a win-win for both teams. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I actually happen to like Devontae Parker. Obviously, there's a lot of injury concern, and production obviously hasn't been there. But I think it's more so due to the injuries than not being able to produce. Because I think when he's on the field, he does produce. It depends on what we would have to give up as far as compensation. Like if the Dolphins are set, if they said, "Oh, give us our 5th or 6th round pick," I mean, to me that'd be a no brainer. Why wouldn't you at least entertain that fact. And it's not like his contract is super high. Like it's not like it's like $12 million. I believe it might be like $8 million. I definitely would be interested. It depends on what the parameters of the trade would look like. But I'm not opposed to it. Obviously, I'm a little frustrated with the direction so far that the Eagles have made as far as wide receiver position. They didn't get any of the big name guys. I know they were linked to Calvin Ridley, and they did make an offer for him. And I believe that was probably their number one target, which kind of makes sense to me because Calvin Ridley played with Jalen Hurts in college. So it makes sense that he would have been their target because obviously Calvin Ridley, notwithstanding the legal issue that he just went through as far as the NFL, suspending him. And obviously last year, him having the issue where he left the team and, said it was like mental issue. I don't know something's there, but that being said, like he's still a guy that if he's healthy, he could be a top 10, maybe even a top 6, 7 wide receiver. Like he had that much talent that Atlanta was willing to let Julio Jones, who was basically the best wide receiver of that, the past 10 years prior, go. So they obviously thought highly of Calvin Ridley, but obviously now he's had some issues. I don't buy into the fact. A lot of people make, I think, a bigger deal than I think it is about somebody not playing. It's not like he's like a 40-year-old guy that's, hasn't played in 2 years and his body's broken down. Like these guys are physical specimens. I mean, Calvin Ridley's in excellent shape. I don't think it would be a huge deal. I've said it on a couple of my other shows. I still believe that Calvin Ridley is on the radar for the Eagles. Like, obviously, they're not going to give up a first rounder now, but I think that Howie might try to like finagle a deal where they could give up a third or a fourth and get Calvin Ridley, and it would be like a high risk, low reward move. If you know what I mean, a low risk, high reward move. I said it backwards.
But he's out for the year.
I got that, but I'm not talking. You're
talking long term, but I'm talking the Eagles need help now.
Yeah, but I think if you look at how they've went in free agency so far, it seems to me like they're playing the patient role where I'm thinking they're going to go and draft another wide receiver. That's what it's kind of signaling to me. The fact that they didn't make any big moves, they didn't get like Allen Robinson, they didn't go for anybody, Aaron, and Miami needed a wide receiver a lot less than the Eagles. I mean, Eagles are wide receiver needy team, and you can agree with that. Being, I know you're.
That's why I said it.
But my point is, a guy like Devontae Parker, that's fine, but he doesn't move the needle for me. Like I want a Calvin Ridley type player. I'm looking to the future because I don't think the Eagles are as close to Miami as far as being ready to compete. I mean, Miami is much closer to competing than the Eagles. I think we both can agree on that. Even without Tyreek Hill, I think Miami was a lot closer. They have the defense already built. Like the Eagles' defense needs a lot of work.
No, I get it. I just think you could take a flyer on Devontae. But you know what? I see your points. What's that?
I don't necessarily agree with it, Aaron. A lot of times when I have points, I go by what I see the GM do and his track record. And it seems to me like Howie Roseman, like everybody thought he was going to come out and be like super ultra aggressive and make all these trades and go crazy. You know what I mean? In free agency because we had a lot of money. But you talked about earlier about the cap situations in the NFL and how the cap realistically doesn't mean anything per se. But I will tell you this. Howie Roseman is kind of paying the piper now for those kind of deals that you're talking about where you kind of put the money to the back end of the deal. Eagles have quite a few players that they did that with, and now it's starting to catch up to them, if that makes sense. So even though it's showing that they have a lot of money, in reality, they don't have as much money as you think because, like, this year they're still paying guys that aren't even on the team. So
I get it. The Eagles had a lot of signings in recent years
kind of looking
of veteran guys that I think weren't great signings.
Well,
I think the Dolphins are in a little bit different position where they have a lot of guys under contract, but they're in their prime, real young guys.
That's
I mean, that's just my opinion. You know what I'm
no,
saying?
that's true. I agree with it. That's why I'm saying
The Eagles threw a lot of money around.
I
on
don't
the older guys.
necessarily. I'm not necessarily pissed off at Howie Roseman, is what I'm saying. I think he's trying to be smart and kind of correct the wrongs that he's made with the cap, because he is pretty good with the cap. He is. They call. I mean, a lot of times they call him a cap genius. Like, and it's exactly for that reason that he's been able to kind of manipulate it and kind of push deals to the back end and like keep restructuring deals. But sooner or later, you got to remember, if you keep doing that, sooner or later, you're going to run out. Like, there's going to come a point where it's like, okay, well, we did it too much. You can't just keep doing that unless you just keep getting younger. I mean, if you let the guys go, that's fine, and you're able to cut them and not have a cap hit. But don't forget, there's a lot of teams that have dead cap hits from guys that they cut. I mean, the Eagles last year, remember, they paid 30-some million to Carson Wentz, and he wasn't even on the team. And now the Colts are doing
see, that's a big thing.
How
When
crazy
it's
is
your
that,
quarterback.
But how crazy is that it's happened 2 years in a row now?
Mm-hmm. No, I get it, brother. Anyway, why don't we move on to the final segment of the week? As always, the picks of the week. Anyway, brother, you want me to go first?
We need to get an audio for that.
Yeah, we need to get like a recorded audio so we're in sync with that. Picks of the week.
That's what we got to do next. That's our next venture.
Yes, it is. Anyway, brother, who do you want to go first? You want me to go first? You want to go first?
Well, you could go.
Okay.
Because I know you had.
I'm always down to go first. Doesn't bother me, man. Anyway, so my pick of the week, I went back. I'll give you a little background. I went back and forth with my pick of the week. My original pick of the week was what the pick of the week is, which I'll just tell you. It's Bastardane, which is a band of young guys. Jake Ben is on lead vocals and bass. Ethan Sorotsky is on guitars. And the legendary James Hetfield's son, Castor Hetfield, is on the drums and backing vocals. That was my original pick of the week. Then when Skid Row made the announcement of Eric Gronwall, I was like, oh, maybe I'll do a Heat record, right? Then with the death of Taylor Hawkins and, having recently listened to the whole Dream Widow record that we talked about earlier in the show, which is Foo Fighters' thrash record that they did under the name of Dream Widow. After listening to that and kind of like thinking of all the influences on that record, Dave Grohl, as I explained, Dave Grohl grew up a fan of bands like Venom, Trouble, bands Corrosion of Conformity. All those influences are on that record. And I went back to Bastardane because when I was originally going to talk about Bastardane as my pick of the week, those are the bands I was going to say that this sounds like. Dude, Bastardane, they're fucking great. First of all, Castor Hetfield's like 21 years old. I'm not sure how old the other guys are, but they can't be much older. But, I mean, dude, this record has a real sludge metal sound to it. And it honestly, to me, sounds like early 90s Corrosion of Conformity. Like when Pepper Keenan first started doing the lead vocals for them. Also has like a Down sound. Like early Down, like the NOLA album. But, dude, it's awesome. And the singer... Not only does he have like a Pepper Keenan sound to him, but he sometimes even sounds a little bit like Glenn Danzig. I can't explain. You know what I mean? Like mother, like that sound to his voice, but it's over like these real sludgy riffs. It's a little Motorhead in there. If I had to describe the sound of the record's called "Is This Rage," by the way. I'm sorry. So the record is called "Is This Rage." The band is Bastardane, and it just came out on March 11th, a couple weeks back. If I had to describe the sound of the record, I would say it's like a mix of Motorhead, Corrosion of Conformity, and Down. You throw those bands in a blender, and this is with little Glenn Danzig vocal in there. This is what you have, man. I mean, it kicks ass. All the songs are pretty great. Above All, the opening track is awesome. The second track, Praise No Bliss, kicks ass. But all the way through, it's a solid record. And again, it just, after listening recently again to the whole Dream Widow record and thinking about Taylor's death, I went right back to this record. Dave Grohl would be proud of this record. So the band is called Bastardane, features Castor Hetfield, James Hetfield's son on the drums, and the album is called Is This Rage. Check it out. That's my pick of the week. What do you got, Jay?
Dude, awesome pick of the week as always.
Thank you.
I always love your picks.
Thank you, brother.
So my pick of the week, it kind of it's crazy because this album was actually released 37 years today in 1985.
Was it today?
I'm sorry?
It was released today, 37 years ago? I didn't realize that.
37 years ago on this date.
Yeah, I didn't realize on this date.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what your pick is. You told me before the show.
So it was released 37
Full disclosure,
years
Jay
ago.
told me before the show. Sorry.
That's okay. So, but it's what's crazier is that it kind of goes hand in hand with the theme
Yep.
of the new band Widowmaker. That's what it's called, right?
What Dream Widow you're talking about?
Why did I say
Foo
Dream Widow?
Fighters.
I'm getting
Widowmaker was Dee Snider's old
Yes.
band, dude.
Dream Widow with the thrash sound. And the reason I say that is because when I first heard the first track on Dream Widow, it sounded extremely close and similar to a band that I obviously grew up idolizing, and that band is Slayer. So my pick of the week is actually Slayer's third album, Hell Awaits, which was released, as I said, 37 years ago today. Now, the interesting thing about Hell Awaits is that I believe out of all their albums, it's probably their most close to that sludgy type metal. It's more of a progressive style. And I know that the band at the time was very big into Merciful Fate. So there's a lot of that, like, you know, bands like Merciful Fate, Venom kind of style in this record.
Yeah.
I
Black
actually
metal, not sludge. Black metal, you mean? Yeah.
black metal, yeah,
Yeah.
but they also had some, you know, sludgy type Black Sabbath riffs.
Yeah. Of course.
It's more of like, it's very progressive compared to their first. Obviously, like, you know, Show No Mercy was their first album, and that was like, you know, kind of like the beginnings of thrash, but it wasn't like what we know.
It wasn't as
Slayer
refined.
Correct. This
It was like Kill 'Em
definitely
All
more
versus Ride the
refined.
Lightning. Yeah.
And it's actually one of my favorite Slayer albums. It doesn't really get talked about like on the level of like Rain and Blood. Obviously, Rain and Blood is quote unquote considered their masterpiece. But I actually like Hell Awaits. Like, I like a lot of that progressive styles where it changes tunes and, you know, kind of goes into different, you know, chords and all that, and the down tuning and the slower album. I like it. So I love it. It's my favorite Slayer album, and it's definitely a tribute to Dream Widow, and obviously rest in peace Taylor Hawkins, because he did some fabulous work on that album.
Yeah, he did on the Dream Widow record. Dude, awesome pick. And yeah, we kind of kept with a little theme here in tribute to Foo Fighters' thrash black metal album.
I mean, if you haven't checked it out, that could be a third pick of the week, because
Yeah,
I'm
and that's
telling
the
you
last
right now,
album for
like
Foo
Aaron
Fighters
nailed
that-
it.
Yeah, and that's Taylor Hawkins' last Foo Fighters record.
I mean,
Yeah, that's his last performance.
especially if you're a fan of thrash. Like I said, like when you told me that they were doing a thrash album, I was like blown away. And and by the way, they're the 666 movie. I believe Kerry King makes a
He does. He makes a cameo. Yep,
cameo. So
that's
another
awesome.
tie in there with the
Yeah, awesome. I love your pick of the week, brother. Anyway, guys, we hope everybody enjoyed the show. As always, rest in peace, Taylor Hawkins. Well, not as always. Once again, rest in peace, Taylor Hawkins. And as always, make sure to check us out everywhere on social media at Sports and Metal. Check out our website, www.sportsandmetal.com. You can find past episodes of the show there. You can find the blog there. Again, check out our sponsor, La Terrain Watches. Go to their website, www.la-touraine.com. That's laterrain.com. Use our promo code SNM, the letters SNM as in Sports and Metal, and you're going to save 10% off your purchase. We hope everybody enjoyed the show. We look forward to seeing you next time. And as always, rock on.
peace out.
And that's our show. Tune in next time for more Sports and Metal with Jason Voorhees and Aaron Savage. Woo, yeah! Got something to say? Hit us up at sportsandmetal0423 at yahoo.com.